Okay, so we're gonna call the Canada Day meeting to order at 7:02. So first item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement. So we would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the town of Shelburne resides in the traditional territory and ancestral land of the Anishinaabe, including the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, the Chippewa, and the people of the Three Fire Confederacy. These traditional territories upon which we live, work, play, and learn are steeped in rich Indigenous history and traditions. It is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect the past, present connection of the Indigenous peoples with this land, its waterways, and resources. Okay, item number 2 is adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved that the Canada Day Committee agenda for January 23rd be adopted as presented. Can I have a mover?
Samir.
Okay, and Samir?
Yeah.
And Samir? All in favor?
I do.
Okay, so that's passed. And the next is any pecuniary interest. So is there any pecuniary interest that anyone wants to disclose? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So next is approval of the minutes from the meeting on October 10th, 2024. Be it resolved that the minutes from the candidate committee meeting held on October 10th, 2024 be adopted as presented. Can I have a mover? Kyle? And a seconder? Sarah? All in favor? Okay. Samir, I assume that's good with you?
I do. Sorry,
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now we're on to new business. So location of the Canada Day event.
So for this one, just to remind everybody of where we're at with this, the Fiddle Park is not available for 2025. So Jessica, who is on the meeting, has been in communication with the fireworks provider to look at the different options that are available to still be able to do the fireworks. So Jessica, I'll just let you give an update on what the fireworks provider indicated.
Yeah, the 3 different options, either NatPat, Greenwood, or...
Sorry, Jessica, we can't really hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So we were kind of looking at NatPat, Greenwood Park, or still at Fiddle Park in the back half. That won't be under construction. The Pyro World, who did the fireworks last year, he's indicated that he would not be comfortable doing fireworks at NatPat at all. So Fiddle Park and Greenwood were the options. You could have some parking in the back half at Fiddle Park, but that would be strictly for fireworks only. You wouldn't be able to do any other activities there. And then also the front half would be under construction at that time as well. At Greenwood Park, they would kind of launch at the back corner of Thunderfield, kind of near where like the water treatment is, in between, like on that side. So no one could be in Thunderfield while the fireworks were launching, but you could certainly use that as a space, leading up to if you wanted to. I know some of the other concerns that we talked about with Greenwood is there is limited hydro access there, or basically none.
Thank you for the detail and for some there. Just a quick question regarding the Fiddle Park. I know basically construction happening front end, back end, we're still able to do it. Parking is going to be an issue. How is the parking space look like at the Greenwood Park?
So the parking at Greenwood, there's not a ton either. The one benefit to that is the walkability for most of the town
Mhm.
is within a 15-minute walk to Greenwood. So, we would just really encourage people to either walk. You could perhaps look at doing some sort of shuttle service, say from NatPat, or even potentially maybe the CDRC. And even the CDRC, for overflow parking is still pretty walkable to Greenwood as well.
Hmm. Okay. Um, Thank you. The Fiddle Park, so with the Fiddle Park, we'll have enough parking. I assume, or I suspect won't be, because if we're, having all of the activity and then, fireworks activities happening at the back as well, right? So I assume that's also a no for the parking area at Fiddle Park.
There will there would be some parking available. Basically from the very back row to I guess the upper half, you would say that would all be accessible. But now about half of that will need to be blocked off as kind of the firing zone.
Hmm.
So you would only kind of have the top left quarter of that. Um, we did a site visit with Brad and Jamie and the guy from the fireworks. And they seem to think that there might be enough room for fireworks, but again, that would be only people show up for fireworks, only basically are staying in their vehicles or around their vehicles to watch, and then clearing out.
Kyle?
I really don't think Fiddle Park is a good option this year. I mean, especially with construction. I mean, you've got kids running around, and as everybody on this committee knows, trying to herd cats is ridiculous. It's not a good idea. Realistically, as far as the parking goes, with the limited amount of space that we would have at Fiddle Park, I think we would end up, correct me if I'm wrong, Alice, and sorry, Jessica.
Yep. All good.
Working on it, working on it. Realistically, the amount of parking that we would have would probably be about the same as what we would have at Greenwood anyway. The difference is Greenwood is walkable, Fiddle Park is not. So for me personally, I think Fiddle Park has to come off the table.
I second Kyle's proposal.
Len?
Yeah, I was just going to say hydro is going to be an issue at either event location. I mean, I've got to work around. We've got generators and things like that. But if need be, and again, hydro. I mean, as far as parking is concerned, I mean, there's parking at the arena. There's parking at the school. So I think parking's a wash as far as either location goes, and I like the fact that it's accessible and people can bike there, people can walk there. I think it'd be a great location for the year. So that's my 2 cents worth.
For Greenwood, would there be any space for any like additional activities like vendors or activities?
Yeah, I think that you might have to kind of adjust what you're doing a bit. You would have all of Thunder Field that you could use basically all day. There is also Brigand's Field. There is the existing splash pad and playground. There's the basketball courts. So it just, yeah, might take some moving around, but you could potentially do all that.
Alice?
And just to add to what Jessica's saying, there was some conversation with staff about the possibility of getting the hours of the splash pad extended for that day. If the committee wanted that, we could request that. We would have to request it of council because it would require more staff time to get the hours of the splash pad extended for that day, since we know people are going to be there.
What time does it usually close? Like during the week?
I believe it's 7.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not outrageous. Like, I don't know. I guess we could have it longer, but yeah,
You know,
it's
because
a good-
typically the fireworks aren't till about 9:30.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, at least at Greenwood, they'd have the splash pad and the playground and basketball.
Yeah, that's actually an added feature to what other things that we could offer this at this day, right? One call out on that Greenwood Park, especially, is the parking. We talked about it, and if we are settled or if we are planning to go that route, can we have at least minimum 50% parking for, special permit parking, like disability parking, whatnot, because we want to make sure that those folks get an opportunity to join and celebrate the Canada Day with us as well. So more than 50% is my proposal for the parking, for assigning for them.
Kyle?
I think that might be a little heavy, Samir. I'm not sure, Alice. Do you know what percentage of parking lots are typically allocated for? Is there a way that we could find out what an average is?
There's numerous factors that determine how many accessible. So the current parking at Greenwood, I believe, does have some assigned accessible spots, but the committee does, you can always assign more because of the type of event that you are having.
I wouldn't mind
can
assigning
look.
more. Yeah, I wouldn't mind assigning more, but because we are very limited on parking, I don't want to take up half. Like that's
I could look into what the guidelines are and what specifications are and bring that back to a future meeting.
I think that would be prudent if we could.
Appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Would we still have like bands and stuff if we had it at Greenwood?
I'm not going to say yes to that because of the hydro demands. I mean, we will be able to have some hydro there, but I think that aspect is going to be scaled back quite substantially.
Kyle?
This might be a good time to bring this up. We've had a very difficult time in getting quorum for this committee and trying to get planning done. Because of the difficulty with Fiddle Park, I'm wondering, and putting this to staff as well, what if this year we kind of scale everything way back? Realistically, I mean, most of the planning as far as getting bands together, as far as getting vendors and that sort of thing, really should have been started by October. We're sitting at almost February right now. So we are way behind the 8 ball. And I'm not sure that if we tried to do what we normally do, I think it's too much to bite off. So I kind of like to see what the committee feels or how the committee feels, as well as staff. I'd like your guys' input because I don't want to just dump anything on you guys, obviously. But we do have a program coordinator on staff now, and Jessica, obviously, it's the main thrust of this is going to land on you if you're okay with it. But I'm going to make a recommendation that at least for this year, let's just scale everything back. Let's keep things as simple as possible. This committee focus on fireworks and as minimal things as we possibly can, and sort of give the reins over to Jessica to put together whatever we can and just sort of run with that.
I mean, I agree with the vendors. I feel like we don't really have enough time to get vendors, nor do we really have space for vendors. And same thing with the bands. Like if we don't have hydro, it's the time, but it's also the space. Like we really don't have the space to do those things. And at least we have the park to attract people to come. Like it would be nice if we had something to get people to come earlier, not just there for the fireworks, but we do have a lot limited space. Alice?
So we could look into getting bouncy castles, things like that again, which could be used in the field. Just have to double check because we probably couldn't have kids going from splash pad to bouncy castles, right? Like they would have to be dry. But you know, we could look into doing it like we did last year, where staff from the entertainment company run and manage the bouncy castles, so we're not relying on volunteers or staff to run that. We could, you know, and then we could also look at having like makeup, like face painting or balloon artists or magicians walking around doing, so it's not like a staged activity, but there are other things going on within the park. We could still look at trying to get a couple of food carts so that there's food trucks, so that there's still food and drinks available for those, if you wanted to scale it back more in that direction.
I actually really like that idea. Especially like magician with kids, face painting, like they'll like that. Bouncy castles during the day and then just fireworks at night and keep it simple.
And then if we're just keeping it simple, I would probably also suggest that instead of advertising that it start at like 3 or 4 o'clock, don't start it till like 6 or 7 o'clock. Like really reduce the time so people are aware that it is not an all day or all afternoon thing like it has been in the past.
Yeah.
And then we could ramp it up for 2026 and advertise it back at Fiddle Park, go big for 2026. And so within these meetings, you know, we can start to have some conversations prepping for 2026 and ramping it up for 2026 and what you want to do to hype it back up for 2026, while still, you know, being involved with this year. Ultimately, it is your budget. So, you know, staff do not have the authority to just make decisions without committee's approval because it is a committee budget. So we're not saying, okay, thanks, bye, see you later. We're still saying we need your feedback and assistance.
With that regard, Alice, that just by protocol, we still have to have virtual meetings for committee to make decisions. Stuff like that could not be made over email, correct?
That's correct. We're not allowed to make decisions via email. So we would have to have, you know, so you could say, and Samir, I do see your hand there and I'll make sure Amy doesn't miss it there. But, you know, the committee could say that we authorize staff, you don't have to identify who, to research makeup artists, like for face painting, balloon animals, magicians, entertainment for up to X amount of dollars. And then staff can report back what we have found. And you could also give staff the authorization to book it right away, because being the day of the event, being Canada Day, being a holiday, if we have to wait till a meeting, you know, then they might already end up being booked. So it depends on how much authority you give, what authority you give. That's what the committee has to decide, because whatever decisions are made do have to be ratified through the committee, and because it is a committee budget.
Samir?
Yeah, Alice, I'm sort of, you know, in line with what you just all of them mentioned. It's great suggestion. Word of caution that basically came to my mind around about wet, kids wet, and then they are going on a bouncy castle, right? Is there anything, whose responsibility if something were to, occur, an unfortunate incident to occur at that place, right? Just wanted to get that idea before, we get an alignment regarding the bouncy castle, knowing splash pad is going to be on.
I don't have an answer for that specifically, but I did go to an event at Greenwood Park that had bouncy castles, and they kind of had it like way at the back, at the very back of, I don't know how to describe where it is, but it's like way at the back, kind of there's like a hill, and then it's like kind of way back there. It's kind of a flat area. So they had, I think, three bouncy castles, and it was definitely far enough away from the splash pad that it was completely separate. Any kids that would go there from the splash pad, it was a long enough walk that they were kind of drying off and then going. So I think that kind of area would have been nice because it's there's a lot of hills at that park, so that it was kind of flat in that area.
And then to follow up to that as well, the town is required to have insurance for the bouncy castles, so it would be on the town's insurance. We don't have to do bouncy castles. I'm not saying we have to do bouncy castles. It was just one of the options, but we will have insurance.
No, that's good enough to understand. Like we have some sort of an insurance in terms of that, so that is definitely helpful. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Len?
I was just going to say a later start certainly makes sense. Scaled back certainly makes sense for this year. I mean, we can channel our resources into, making for a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit better fireworks for this year, and then look at 2026 as a time to open things back up at Fiddle Park when there'll be an amphitheater and a little more of a venue and adequate hydro and all that stuff. So, and accessibility and parking and all of, yeah. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth.
The mayor?
Yeah, I'm aligned with scaling it back. Absolutely, knowing where we are today, late in the game, so definitely scale it back. Late start. I'm all aligned with that, and also proposal for the Greenwood Park for the Canada Day venue.
Kyle?
Okay, so it looks like the whole committee is on board with scaling back. So based on what Alice was saying, can I put forward a motion then to authorize staff? Alice, what's our budget at this year that we have left to spend?
So we haven't actually spent anything for 2025. And we're still waiting to hear if we got any funding from the federal government from the grant that we've applied for. We anticipate a delay in hearing due to the fact that government is now prorogued at the federal level. It may delay that a bit. So I believe the budget was 15. I'm sorry, I don't have it right in front of me. And I do believe we have about 11 of that already set aside for fireworks.
Okay, so then can I put together a motion then authorizing staff to look into entertainment? And if we give that broad stroke, I think that should give you guys enough authorization for magician, for bouncy castle, for whatever. And maybe what I'll do is I'll put I guess a budget line item, since we have to, of say 3,000.
I'm good with that.
And if we need to put it in the verbiage, Alice, to give staff authorization to act on what they find as well, given the time frames.
Sorry, typing. So if I put in there, staff be authorized to look into entertainment for the July 2025 Canada Day event, and that they be authorized to book entertainment up to a maximum of $3,000.
Sounds reasonable. So I'll
Is that
be
what you're saying?
Yep.
And then could I also just request that we add in there, maybe at the beginning of the resolution, that it's going to be held at Greenwood Park?
Yes, please.
I can second that.
Okay.
Do you want everyone to vote now?
Yes, please.
All in favor?
I do.
We're passed. Can we also decide on a time? Because that'll affect like bouncy castle and all the activities on what time we want to start. What are people's thoughts? Kyle?
Normally, fireworks don't go off because it's not dark enough, at least for the last however many years I've been doing this. It's always been almost exactly 10 o'clock before the fireworks can go off. So realistically, if we look at 7 o'clock to start, I think that's more than reasonable. That's 3 hours before the fireworks, and I think that should be plenty of time.
I only
Yes.
wonder if there would be like a limit, like if for bouncy castles to like would they be all right with setting up and only being there for 3 hours?
And I wonder too, because Alice, you said, or sorry, Jess said that the fireworks are in the field, right? And is that where we're putting the bouncy castles? Because then I imagine the bouncy castles have to be out before the fireworks go off, which reduces the amount of time.
Sure.
Like it wouldn't be a full 3 hours if we start at 7.
Yeah, so if you were to put the bouncy castles, say on Thunder Field, basically the field would need to be emptied. So they would have to, pack up and be gone before the fireworks were to go. You might be able to potentially have them out at Brigance, but then again, it's probably quite a bit farther away from where all of the main activities would be going on.
Len?
I was just going to suggest maybe we go bouncy castles, say 6:30 to 8:30, and that'll give the bouncy castle guys a little bit of daylight left to strike their generators and their bouncy castles and get out of harm's way before the fireworks. That gives them, a cushion. So if we start at 6:30, say maybe go 6:30 to 8:30 with bouncy castles and entertainment, and then pack up the bouncy castles and make sure there aren't any kids that have run away and joined the circus. Then we can have them still be ready for fireworks for 9:45-ish.
Could
So-
I share my screen quickly? I just want to. Okay, can you see the map? The Greenwood map. So is this the field that you're talking about for the
That's
fireworks?
Thunderfield, yes.
Okay. So I think what I'm picturing what for the event I went to, like there's hills here, and I think the bouncy castles were like right here. And there was kind of room for like a couple, like it wasn't a huge amount of space. But this was kind of the area that I remember there being bouncy castles kind of in this area here. Is that too close that would need to be taken down?
That's getting close to the boundary. But it may not be. I can get I'm waiting for the map from Power World. He's gonna draw it out for me.
What
The only
what
thing
about
that
here?
just
Like, is this all hill? Like, could they be
that's a
like over-
quite hilly there. The only thing that just popped into my head is that some of the weight of some of the inflatables are such that I don't know how far they can be moved from somewhere with vehicle access.
Yeah, the event I went to, I think they were pretty small. Like there was a castle, there was an obstacle course. I think there was 2 castles, but they were relatively small. So that might not work for like if we're expecting more people.
But even on the other side of that tree line there, where you're kind of getting into Brigans, there's access there. And I do believe that there is some hydro available in that trailer that's kind of to the right of in there.
Yeah,
So that might around that area might be a good place to do the inflatables. And then I guess if you were
wanted a
going to
picture of.
do, someone was going to do the bubble soccer again, you could always have that going on the Thunder field.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's an easy thing to move out of the way. Samir, sorry, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I was just similar chain of thought on that. I was gonna talk about the bubbles soccer thing. Also, I have a question regarding the fireworks that, or the company that needed to set up the fireworks. If it is close to the bouncy castle area, would it be would it be in a way for them, and accessibility wise, basically, would there be any trouble? Do we have a path for them to go, go around and do things that they need to do it to set up the fireworks?
So the fireworks would kind of be set up on the other side of the fence, like I guess it would be I don't know, northeast side or of Thunder Field. We would be barricading the area around that they don't want anyone to be like during the day while the fireworks are set up. If that is that what you're asking? Sorry.
Yeah, that's the same line of thought. Like, I just want to make sure that when we have a bouncy castle set up at the like close to that area, like
Right.
that interfere fire company to or fireworks company to to would that interfere with their setup that they're going to do it at the place?
No, they weren't concerned by other things. They did indicate the areas that they would have our staff barricade off, that they don't want anyone being able to access throughout the day. So that's not a concern for them.
Okay, sounds good.
If I can just ask for some clarification for Jessica from the committee with the budget of $3,000. Just what you wish your priorities for her to look into for booking. Last year, the inflatables were about $2,300 with insurance on top of that. And as we know, everything keeps going up. So I suspect inflatables will be a little bit more than that this year. So just so she knows what your priorities are. Is your priorities inflatables, 3 inflatables, 2 inflatables, or is your priorities face painting, balloon artistry, etc.? Just where would you like her to prioritize the $3,000?
I was thinking more on like face painting and smaller things since we've got limited space. Like it'd be nice to have maybe 1 or 2 bouncy castles, but I think there's not a whole lot of space for a lot of bouncy castles. It'll be easier to find spots for like smaller items. Kyle?
Well, yeah, I agree 100%. The other thing is if we go for smaller items, we can get more bang for our buck. We'll have more available is what I'm thinking.
Samir, did you have your hand up?
No, that was from previous. I think
Okay.
I must lower my hand.
That's
But
okay.
yes, I agree with what Kyle said. It yes, makes sense.
Okay. And face painting is always so popular, so I think face painting would be a good one to have. Len?
Sorry, just a quick question. If we do not get funding or grants from this year, we are allowed to collect funds. Is that correct? I just want a clarification on that.
I think that
They're for
they
donations.
look at what you do. I feel like they look at what you do for the previous year, so we weren't able to do that because it was gonna hurt us for next year. So I don't think
Right.
I see Alice shaking her head, so I think that's right.
Okay.
I think it would also be confusing for residents if, every other year we're not charging, now suddenly we're doing less and we are charging.
Yeah. Oh, no. I wasn't thinking of charging. I was just thinking if we are going to have donation buckets. I wasn't sure what the criteria was for if we get a grant versus if we don't get a grant. Because I know there was that discussion last year, and my memory isn't that terrific from year to year on this part of it.
Yeah, I think it's that we can't fundraise, right?
No, yeah.
Can we circle back to what time we want to start? Alice?
So I think based on what the committee is saying, it's 6:30. Let us reach out to what we can provide because some providers will have a minimum amount of hours that they want. So we know where the committee would like to be. And then based on what we can find for availability, then we can come back to the committee and say, okay, we need 3 hours for this person needs 4 hours. So based on that, we're going to start it at 6. Right. And then just kind of, we know what you're talking, we know where you're headed, and that just gives us a little bit of flexibility. So we're not locked into a time right now when we're looking for availability from people.
So we can vote on like a set time next time once we hear about the activities. Okay.
Yeah, and it's still early to be advertising, so we don't really need to be worrying about the timing per se for advertising at this meeting.
What about sponsors? Are we going to try to get sponsors? I wonder if it might be a little challenging because it'll be smaller, but I do think it's going to be fun at the park. Like there's a lot to keep the kids occupied with the playground and the splash pad and stuff. So like that could still be a good draw. Alice?
I did hear a mention of the bubble soccer. The bubble soccer has been provided by a sponsor in the past. It is not a town-owned event. It is a sponsor event. So I could reach out to that company and see if they have any interest, if they're willing, and bring that back because it sounds like even if we did have the inflatables, we would still have the space for them to be able to do the bubble soccer. Sounds like the committee is interested in the bubble soccer. So we could reach out to that. We could, if you did want to go to sponsors, ask them to donate for specific entertainment, like $500 to sponsor face painting or balloon twisting. Instead of doing like the form that we did in the past, where we had the different levels of sponsorship, we can put together a letter to distribute. And it's a smaller group than we've had in the past too. So we can, hopefully keep a better handle on who's distributing where so as not to, but if we make it sponsor for a specific event, it might be a little bit easier. And we just won't promise as much from the sponsors as we have in the past.
Alice, 100% align on what you just presented. That's definitely, I kind of suggest that same way. Just reaching out to the bubble soccer and then sponsorship for the activities. Yeah.
I think once we get the letter drafted, we should start with sending it out to all the ones that sponsored last year.
Right.
A good starting point. I assume you have a list of that, Alice, of the people. Okay.
Yes, I do.
So would the town create a letter or would you want us to?
Yes.
Okay.
Town will create the letter. We will provide it to the committee. We will provide the list of who has sponsored in the past. If you were one that, sorry, I don't have a list of who brought in which sponsor. So if there was a particular one that you had made contact with, if you could just let me know that, and then we'll just ask you to make that contact again. And we'll just try to be a little more organized as far as who's contacting whom.
Me and Sarah had a nice list last year, so we can take a look at our list. Ben?
Sorry, just for clarification, so we are not going to have levels of sponsorship like we had last year because we are scaling back. So do we set on a specific ask, or is it,
I think
what
the
they feel like they
specific
can
activity is a
sponsor?
good
Or
idea.
yeah, so we set a number that's a specific ask of sponsorship.
Oh, like a
And
set
there
amount,
there
is
were
that
a
what you're
couple of,
saying?
yeah, there were a couple of sponsors last year that were in kind. I know we got water from the next door neighbor here, and so yeah, so there was a couple of in kind sponsorships, and I think there were a few others that were corporate that didn't really bring anything, just other than ask for some visual advertising. So okay, cool, it's all good.
I also like the idea of seeing if people will sponsor specific activities. Like, I don't know if you would put like if you want to do face painting, it's going to cost this, or if you want to do this, it'll cost this. That might get a little harder because then it would be different price points, but that might
Yeah.
entice people if by them sponsoring, we get to have face painting. Okay. Was there any other decisions that we need to make at this meeting to help move things forward? Alice?
Just one other one that kind of got mentioned but hasn't been fully discussed is, did you want us to look into food trucks as a vendor? And if so, are we charging them a vendor fee? Like, I know we said no vendor market. I'm not talking that. I'm just specifically so that there's food and drinks. Like, because I know we've the last couple of years, we've had the ice cream truck that has come. And then we had another food vendor last year. Do we want to try to reach out to more food trucks? Just looking for feedback on that from the committee as well.
Kyle?
I still think it's worthwhile to reach out. I still think it's worthwhile to charge vendors and restrict anybody who's there to the people who have. Damn cats, Elon. I mean, the ice cream truck that just keeps showing up. He's been told many, many times, you need to be a vendor. Here's how you do it. No, it's not right that he just pull in and have a smorgasbord of clients. No, I think we should absolutely go after specific vendors and have them fill out vendor forms and certainly pay a nominal fee to be a vendor at the event.
Did we want to keep it as the same fee as last year, 100, or did we want to lower it? I know we were talking about lowering it, but I think that was more towards like retail, and having the food truck at a higher. I wouldn't be opposed at 100 for food trucks. Like, they should be making, especially if there's only a couple, they should be making lots of money.
Or they are getting reduced hours too, though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I'm just taking a look at that as well. I think preference should be made to anybody who's local and in town versus outside. I'm just thinking with the lower I mean, we're only going to be running for 4 hours, not for 7. So that might be a consideration in terms of what we charge for a food truck.
Yeah, that's true.
So just,
What do people think we should charge?
50?
50? Yeah. It's like people are agreeing with 50. Any other comments about the price? Do we want to set a motion for setting the vendor fee at 50? So Kyle and Len.
can we add to that motion? Sorry.
Mhm.
I was just thinking $50 for any local business, and I don't know. We set a separate fee for. We might as well put those both into one motion, right? So what do we? While we have this on the floor, maybe we discuss what we're going to charge anybody who's coming in from outside.
Keep it nominal. I would say 50 for local, 75 for out of town.
I'm aligned with Kyle.
Yeah. Is local Shelburne or is local Dufferin?
That's what I was just gonna ask, because
Yeah.
how many food trucks are there in Shelburne?
Exactly. If we said Dufferin, we might there's more in Dufferin than there would be in just Shelburne alone. I sort of consider that still local. Alice?
And just a reminder too, that because the hours are reduced, we are competing against all the other Canada Day events.
True.
So if you charge a different fee from somewhere else, for someone a higher fee from outside the area, are they going to choose to come here, or are they going to say, nope, it's not worth it for me to pay that to come from further away for only a few hours when I can stay more local? I understand where the committee is going with wanting, but I think, again, because of the reduced hours, we haven't gotten other food trucks before. It might be beneficial for this year, again, being on the smaller scale, keep it at a smaller amount, draw them in, get them interested in our event. And then for 2026, when we're doing a bigger event, then they're not surprised when we're charging more because they're getting that many more hours and it's a bigger event. Just another thought.
How much space do we have for food trucks too? Like,
Yeah.
how many can we even have?
Where would we put them? Like, would they kind of be in the parking area?
There is the smaller parking lot that's kind of close to the basketball court that you could potentially set up a few. I think otherwise the other option would be you'd have to block off some parking spaces for food vendors.
Could they set up across? Well, we don't want to have them going across the road. Yeah, no. All right. Just
I'm
thinking.
gonna share the map again just so I can visualize it. Are you
Yep.
talking about like right here? Like,
Yeah, they're not going to get access to much of a road behind where the basketball field or the basketball court is.
Up where the words Greenwood Park are, that's a parking area as well.
Oh, is it?
Um,
Okay.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
might be harder for people to find. I didn't even know there was.
that's the path that you kind of just went over is where they drive in.
Okay.
All right.
Like you go to the left from the entrance. Otherwise, maybe you leave that parking area as your accessible parking, and maybe, block off a row closer to the splash pad for your food vendors. I guess it would depend how many we get and
Yeah.
the size of their vehicles and everything.
Can you see this area like from around here? Like if someone was parked here, would you be able to see the food trucks?
Yeah, it's all pretty open.
Okay.
Are we going to have like an information booth or an information like some sort of a stage with background music or anything like that at all? Just a place that's manned that has it's like a focal point for people to come and say, okay, so what's
Yeah.
happening where? And I'm just curious of that.
I mean, we can put a 10 by 10 somewhere, like maybe here or like over here somewhere.
Okay.
I think because we've had such a hard time getting vendors in the past, like food vendors, I don't know if we're gonna have an issue with having too many. Especially if they can park here and if we can see them there, then
Yeah.
it seems like there's lots of room right here.
Yeah. I know we had one company doing snow cones, and we had another company that, I mean, those were free. So that again is, they might want to do that again. Amy, can I get you to scroll to the east on that? It should be, yeah, that's
I don't
good.
know.
Okay. Yeah, and zoom out a bit, please. Thank you. Okay, a little more.
Yeah, sorry, Len, just give me 1 second here. I do have another appointment that I've got to get to. Alice, if I head off of this, do we still have quorum, or is quorum only with me?
We still have quorum.
Okay. Sorry, guys, I don't mean to duck out, but I do have another appointment I do have to get to. So if I'm not killing quorum, then I do have to duck out. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle.
I also feel like this area might be flat. Like I know there's hills like over here, I think, but there might be a flat bit kind of around here that you can put like maybe not a food truck, but like a 10 by 10, like snow cone person.
Could I get you to zoom out a little bit and then move again to your east? All right. So what is to the southeast of the soccer fields where your cursor is right now? No, yep. No, not there, but a little farther to the east.
Maybe if you use left and right, I'll.
Oh, sorry. Screen right. You're right. Right
Like
there. Right there. Yeah.
here?
So what is in that field? Is that just a vacant?
It starts to get kind of hilly over there.
Right.
And they're probably gonna start
There may be
blocking
space
over here.
for one or two small tents though. I'd have to go back and look at the park.
Okay. Okay.
Like, I think this is flat right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I get you to zoom out just a little farther, please? Sorry. Yeah. Okay. And then scroll to the north a little. A little more. Okay. All right. Never mind. It's all good. Thank you.
And Jessica, when you were talking about the fireworks, were you talking about kind of like right here?
Yep.
Okay, that's kind of what I was
basically in
picturing,
there.
kind of like here. So I imagine they wouldn't want people like back here.
No, and it's not really convenient for people to be back there. It's a big hill there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as we get closer to the event, and as we start booking things, we will bring an updated, kind of like Jamie has done in the past, an outline of what is going to be where at the park so that you have a better understanding. And then once the snow is gone, take a walk over by Greenwood and make yourself a little bit more familiar so you can visualize it. It's hard right now.
Yeah, and there's hills in random spots, so you have to know where the hills are to know if you can put anything there. Alice?
So we did start to make a motion, but we didn't actually complete the motion. But now with Kyle gone, can we not have Kyle be the mover of the motion that is being made after he left?
I'll move the motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
And it was the $50 vendor fee. Is that what we're moving? Is that right? Okay. So we've got a mover and a seconder. All in favor?
I do.
Is the town gonna look for food truck vendors, or is that something that you guys want us to work on?
We will reach out to the ones that have been done in the past. You know, if you know of any, absolutely please mention it to them. If you want a letter from us similar to the sponsorship letter, we can create something. We do have the, you know, vendor form from previous, but I don't think we need to. We will need the same information, so we can use that form just so we can keep track. We'll just update it for this year's dates. We will, if we hear of others, we will reach out as well. So if we can just kind of all, you know, if you have one, if you have contact information, feel free to forward it to Jessica and myself. If you know of anyone looking, please feel free to speak to them and then just have them connect with us to actually get it
I feel
confirmed.
like there was a bunch in the Trainer Games parking lot in the summer. I don't know. I can't remember what the names were, but it'd be good to contact whoever those were. Don't know if anyone knows them. Okay. Guess I should look at the agenda. Did we have?
You kind of rolled them all into one, Amy. You did
Yeah, I
great.
know. It was kind of general, like discuss plans for Canada Day. We did that. And we did the vendor fee. Okay, was there anything else that anyone thinks we should talk about this week with this meeting before we end the meeting? Is our next meeting in a month? We're trying to meet once a month.
So typically the meetings have been the second Thursday of the month. We just didn't get quorum for the second Thursday in January. That's why we're on the fourth Thursday. So the next one would be scheduled for the 13th of February. I could also do the 27th if the committee would prefer the 4th. If it is the 13th, the agenda will not come out until the Monday, the 10th, maybe even Tuesday. It'll be a little late.
Either date.
Alice, would it give it a town staff to collect or gather the information that is requested? Would it be enough time for you to gather those information and come back to the committee, or do you require more time?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not going to hurt staff to have more time if we're coming, because the 13th is basically 3 weeks from today. 27th is 5 weeks. I am away for one of those weeks, so it is a little bit easier for us to have a little bit more time, and hopefully we'll have more of an update instead of, yep, we've started, we don't have anything confirmed yet.
Yeah, if that's the case, then I would propose the fourth. Is it a fourth? You said February 22nd availability wise?
27th. 27th. It would be the fourth Thursday. It would be the 27th of February.
Yeah, that's what I would put forward as a proposal.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I can put in book.
And we just, we might have the same issue for Kyle, that he's got another meeting at 8, but hopefully with a smaller scale, then we can just, move it along, and I don't think it'll be a huge issue. And if anybody sees or hears from Brian, please ask them to contact me.
Will do.
Okay. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. So I think we can adjourn the meeting. Do I need a mover for that? Okay, can I have a mover? Sarah? And a seconder?
Samir?
Samir? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's passed.